at Ladynoir Fanfiction, Ch.7. She's holding her breath and can only guess that he is too. Is today the day? The day they both come clean like monks being reborn? The wash of the near setting sun brings in a new dawning day, for them and everyone else. Ladybug is shaking, and terrified, and giddy, and nervous, and feeling every single emotion all at once. Today she's finally going to see him, and he will see her. His green eyes will shine deep into her soul, and the years of secrets will come to an end. The masks and the concrete clear glass walls they've had for so long, the fences they stood across and stared at with worry and fear, and fearful smiles, will cease once and for all. Ladybug could not be more scared, but she also could not be more elated. What will he think of her? What will he love? Ch.7 knows her better than any other person on this planet, but there is still so much he doesn't know. Will he want to know all the little sides of her? Will he be so scared of the person she's become, or will he learn to accept them too? Ladybug hopes he'll enjoy the mannerisms she's picked up from her new home and appreciate her new taste for nostalgic Parisian foods. She can only hope he'll laugh with adoration her new favorite movies and her still from childhood favorite musician. The things he may or may not see weave through like threads in a tapestry, trailing in her mind, like they're ghosts of a feeling. Ladybug takes a deep breath. It's almost time. She's ready to see all of him. See him when he's exhausted from work and excited for a new show. She wants to see him when his eyes are drooping and he puts on a silly little smile to convince her that he's not ready for slumber just yet, even as the moon is raised high in the sky and its white glowing light is reflected onto his cheeks like a spotlight. She wants to see everything he is and everything he will be, and more if that's even possible. Ladybug knew she loved Ch.7 when she was just a kid racing through the streets of Paris, pretending the whole world was at their fingertips. But now she's an adult who has seen the drearies of the world and has heard the sorrows and the pain and knows her love for him has only grown. Even in those dark, lonely days when she wished for his hold or his grin. Now that she's older, she knows her puppy love and adoration that only comes once in a lifetime is her lifetime, and her everything, and the very best thing she'll ever hold on to in her life and call her own. From standing here in the gleaming tower of Paris, above all the civilians she loved and protected and fought for years and years for back in her youth, she discovered the thing in life that makes her truly alive, and again on this ground she'll meet him again. Should I turn around, or? He's very awkward and very nervous, and Ladybug is very much laughing because she is too. She's also anxious to see his face and feel his skin under her fingertips. If you won, Ladybug says with a little laugh. She doesn't turn away. Instead, she closes her eyes and whispers the words that will finally remove the mask from her face, and she hears him say his words too. Despite her eyes being closed, she can still see the flashes of light that surround them. She takes a deep breath, preparing herself, readying herself for whatever will happen next. There's a tight feeling in her chest and a lump in her throat, and try as she may, but she can't get herself to open her eyes. Not just yet. Marinette? He knows her. That's all that races through her head. He knows her. She manages to force her eyes open. Her mind swirls in the second before she can see whoever is in front of her. Who is she going to see? There is a strange giddy feeling in her chest. Scratch that, it's not strange at all. This is Ch.7 in front of her, And God, she is so excited to see him and feel him and hug him and know who he is once and for all. Adrian? It's like a glass window falling down. Everything is so clear now, and it's crazy how she never saw it before. A sound escapes her mouth. She doesn't even register it happening, and a hand flies to her mouth in shock. Or maybe joy? His eyes are wider than hers, if that's somehow possible, and his lip is trembling. Part of her wants to squeeze her eyes tight and can barely believe that this is real. This can't be real. This has to be a joke. A silly little joke from the universe for her childhood self, that the boy that shot Noir looks exactly like the first boy she's ever loved. But it's not a joke. She's not dreaming, despite the swirling clouds and the feeling that her feet aren't quite touching the ground. She's not dreaming the sun setting behind his shoulder or the slow smile that makes its way onto his face. Oh my God. It's Adrian under the mask. It's Adrian under the mask that smiled at her in the moonlight. It was Adrian who teased her throughout the Akuma fights, but leapt off because he knew her next move even before she did. It was Adrian who held her hand that night, that being Ladybug was just too much, and she felt like all she could do was give up. It was Adrian who held her underwater with a fierce grip because it felt like it was all over and they had lost. It was Adrian who she couldn't say goodbye to the day she left, and the day she left the only life she knew behind to go off and make something new. It's his hold she had missed for so many years, and his laugh she could hear echoing in her most wistful dreams. It's his touch she felt ghosted on her skin even years after she had last seen him, and had scrubbed the feeling off thousands of times before to stop the aching miss. Adrian had been the one to catch her in his arms when she was weak from a fight, or the one that she found herself tangled up with the first day that she got Tiki. Adrian. It's always been him. This whole time. Her whole life. Oh my God. She can't help herself but rush forward and throw herself into his arms. A sob muffles into his shirt as she buries her head in his chest. His arms squeeze around her in a tight, everlasting embrace, and suddenly everything is right in the world. Is this real? She hears him say. He chuckles and the feeling vibrates through her, causing her own giggles to escape. Don't ask me, I feel like I'm barely awake, she admits. I think if I look at you, I might just faint. I'll faint. Then I'll catch you in my arms before you hit the ground. Marinette rolls her eyes, but she doesn't doubt the truth in his words, going by the hundreds of times he's caught her as she flew through mid-air. He'd catch her now, and she'd put her life on the line to test it. I just can't believe you've been so close to me for so long. She pulls away from him, but still keeps her arms wrapped around his middle. Yeah, we've been a row away from each other for basically our whole lives, Marinette laughs. Truthfully, she hasn't quite comprehended that Adrian, her childhood crush, is also her Ch.7. It's like a daydream come to life. Through all of this day I've been. This also means that in some way he's liked her back. It also just happens to be her alter ego with a much older mouth than her civilian self, but it's a wonderful feeling to know that he loved her like she loved him. So what if they're finding it out so late? At least she knows, and now she can spend the rest of her life showing him how much he means to her. I searched for Ladybug in everyone's faces when we were kids, you know, Adrian admits. Her head shoots up and she stares at him with amusement. And surprise, his cheeks are bright pink as he relives the childhood memory. Every new person I'd meet, Just look for your eyes and you're laughing, Adrian says. And you didn't see me in me, Marinette teases him. He looks away and whines high in his throat. Come on, Marinette says, not wanting to give up the joke. It's literally my eyes that you missed. I'd convinced myself there was no way it could be you. I think it was the magic, but I think some part of me was even scared to consider it, Adrian says with a sheepish smile. I can say now that I definitely liked you in some capacity while we were back in college. You wasn't a civilian. He clears up. Marinette gasps and shocks. No way. That was her only wish as a kid, and once more, it's a dream come true. Her head is screaming, no way, no way, no way. Yeah, Adrian says, as if he could read her mind. I was so bad at understanding emotions and social cues. I just didn't fully realize it. But I knew you were special. And I just didn't realize how much. And I always felt like I was being unloyal to Ladybug, who, since now I know is you, this sounds really dumb. But I knew deep down I felt something real for you, and I didn't want to admit it when I loved Ladybug. Adrian sighs. Marinette quirks her brow up. So you're saying I was too real for you, and you had to go after Kagami instead? She says. Adrian groans in agony into her shoulder. Come on, I was heartbroken. I shouldn't be allowed to give you grief about it now. Adrian gives her a harsh glare before pressing a kiss to the tip of her nose, surprising her enough that her mind goes blank for a second and her mouth drops open. You're awfully mean sometimes. You know that, right? Adrian grumbles. Only for you, Marinette says with a laugh. But for what it's worth, I know what you mean. I knew, even if I didn't want to tell anyone or admit it, that I would have left Ch.7 if you, as Adrian, wasn't around. A flush appears on her face when she remembers the hidden secret deep in her college self-pass. I think I even wrote that in an old sketchbook or journal, and it's probably still stuffed in my childhood room somewhere. He makes a cry of joy. Can I go find it? Not a chance. See? Mean. His smile is so bright, she can't do anything but focus on it. He may be the silliest kitty she's ever met in her life, but he is her silly kitty. The sun is setting behind them, and she doesn't even care, because his grin seems like it could replace the sun right now. Marinette softly grabs his face with her hands, much to his confusion and her amusement, and she presses a kiss to his cheek. A sense of deja vu washes over her. When she was a kid, she did this once, with a rare bold streak of hers, and now she wonders if he remembers it, if it's pressed into the folds of his mind as it has been woven into hers. Hi, she says softly. In that second, the moment changes, and everything becomes light and brighter and tuned into just them. I love you. I love you too. She's overjoyed, really, pressing light kisses into his beautiful, beautiful features. I love you for a very long time, she admits, letting all the words and secrets and wishes come tumbling down. Ever since you gave me your black umbrella when we were only 13, I knew in that second I fell so irreversibly and heavily for you. I knew you were the only one I'd ever loved in my entire life, and believe me, I've never even tried to love someone else that hard. You were the only thing on my mind, and you're the only thing that matters now. When you were Ch.7, you were ungodly irritating and annoying and a complete pest, but in the most endearing way that I couldn't help but adore. I've always known you're the only one for me, in and out of the mask, she proclaims. He's speechless in such a cute way she wants to kiss him. So, because now she's not a little girl running away like a coward, but she's a woman with the best love in her arms. She does. Adrian makes a sound against her lips before pressing them even closer together. Marinette giggles a little because, hey, this is the first time they will both remember the kiss. Isn't that just full circle? I've been waiting forever to do that. Both times we've kissed before. I don't have any recollection of it, he says in a low laugh. I'll keep the memory like a photograph, though. Marinette rolls her eyes playfully and brushes her hands through his hair. His green eyes droop as he relaxes into her touch. It's at this moment that she realizes how much he is like a cat, even now, so long after he held the title regularly and out of uniform. It's comforting to know that Ch.7 and Adrian really are one and the same, and not the dichotomy that they may seem to be at first glance. Or I could just kiss you to remind you, Marinette teases. That works too, he says with eyes shining with mirth. She sighs and drops her head back onto his chest again. It strikes her that this was the very first place where they met and became the people they are now. It's the same ground that they found each other on, for the first time and for the final. She has to chuckle to herself a little, thinking of the little girl who was so scared and so clumsy. She remembers the little girl who was so scared of who she was, and who she was becoming, and who she loved. It's been so many days since then, and it feels like eons ago, as well as it just being yesterday. So much has changed, and yet she's still here with him. Ch.7, Adrian, her other half. And she has to question how much really changed. Isn't this just the same life? Maybe she's not running around like a heathen anymore, or fighting akumas and gaining glory in the process, but she still has the rush in her heart and so much emotion for this boy. It's all the same at 13 and 23. It's the same place they were in through happiness, sadness, fear, and so much more. Paris is her true home, and she's always known that. Now she has Ch.7 too, and yeah, maybe she's leaving for the temporary mid-20s house that she made for herself. But in the end, Marinette will always end up here, and she's happy to know that. This is the ground she'll walk on forever with him.